Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
The retaliatory tariffs imposed by Canada will have tangible effects on American consumers, businesses, and workers. It looks like trade tensions between Canada and the U.S. are escalating quickly. Trudeau is taking a firm stance against Trump's tariffs, especially emphasizing the historic relationship between the two countries. This Canadian retaliation could have a significant impact on sectors such as steel, aluminum, and other affected products. Do you think this dispute will escalate further, or will the two countries find a middle ground to resolve the issue? The Canadian government has announced the implementation of retaliatory tariffs against the United States in response to new import tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement on Tuesday, during a press conference in Ottawa, stating that the country would impose 25% tariffs on U.S. goods. Trudeau expressed strong disapproval of the U.S. tariffs, which took effect just hours before his announcement. The U.S. government introduced a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico, China, and Canada, sparking concerns of a growing trade war. There is absolutely no justification or need for these tariffs, Trudeau stated. The United States has launched a trade war against Canada, its closest partner and ally, its closest friend. Meanwhile, they speak of working positively with Russia and Vladimir Putin, a lying and murderous dictator. The Prime Minister affirmed that Canada will challenge the U.S. tariffs through the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, the trade deal between the three North American nations. Canada's response. As part of its countermeasures, Canada will immediately impose 25% tariffs on U.S. imports worth 30 billion Canadian dollars. Furthermore, Trudeau warned that if the U.S. does not reverse its position, Canada will introduce additional tariffs in 21 days, affecting an additional 125 billion Canadian dollars worth of American imports. Canadians are reasonable and polite, Trudeau emphasized, but we will not back down from a fight, not when our country and the well-being of all who live here is at stake. Rising trade tensions. This latest trade dispute marks another chapter in the increasingly strained economic relations between Canada and the United States. The tariffs, which primarily target steel, aluminum, and other key industrial sectors, could have widespread consequences for businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. Analysts warn that a prolonged trade war could disrupt supply chains and increase costs for manufacturers and consumers, potentially leading to job losses and economic slowdown in both countries. Despite these concerns, neither side has shown signs of backing down. With tensions running high, the coming weeks will be critical in determining whether Canada and the U.S. can find common ground or if the dispute will escalate further. For now, Canada has made it clear that it will not hesitate to defend its economic interests against what it sees as unjustified American trade policies. Many U.S. companies rely on exports to Canada, and these tariffs could make their products more expensive and less competitive in the Canadian market. Industries such as agriculture, automotive, and manufacturing are expected to be particularly hard hit. For American consumers, higher tariffs could translate into increased prices for goods that rely on Canadian materials or production, including cars, appliances, and construction materials. The added costs may be passed down the supply chain, leading to inflationary pressure on everyday items. Additionally, job losses in industries that depend on trade with Canada are a real concern. Small and medium-sized businesses that rely on cross-border commerce may struggle to absorb the increased costs, potentially leading to layoffs or even closures. With tensions running high, the coming weeks will be critical in determining whether Canada and the U.S. can find common ground or if the dispute will escalate further. For now, Canada has made it clear that it will not hesitate to defend its economic interests against what it sees as unjustified American trade policies. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump's imposition of 25% tariffs on Canadian imports, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada will implement retaliatory tariffs of 25% on $155 billion worth of U.S. goods. The initial tariffs, affecting $30 billion in goods, took effect immediately, with additional tariffs on $125 billion set to commence in 21 days. Trudeau emphasized that these measures are a direct response to the U.S. actions, stating that the tariffs will remain in place until the United States withdraws its trade actions. Gouvernement du Canada. He criticized the U.S. justification for the tariffs, particularly the assertion that Canada poses a national security risk, calling it absurd and inconceivable. The Canadian tariffs target a wide range of U.S. products, including food, textiles, and furniture, potentially impacting various sectors of the American economy. Trudeau highlighted that these measures are designed to protect Canadian interests and workers, while also urging the U.S. administration to reconsider its stance to avoid further economic disruption. This escalation has raised concerns about a broader trade war with potential consequences for consumers and businesses on both sides of the border. Economists warn that such tariffs could lead to increased prices for essential goods and potential job losses, underscoring the need for a swift resolution to the dispute. This move comes in direct response to the U.S. imposing similar tariffs on Canadian imports, a decision that Trudeau called absurd and inconceivable. With these retaliatory measures set to impact everything from food to furniture, both economies are bracing for potential consequences: higher prices, job losses, and even a full-blown trade war. But was this the right move? Should Canada stand its ground, or should both countries find a way to de-escalate the situation? What do you think? Necessary defense or economic disaster in the making?
And we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake.